All right, 2 Chronicles chapter 30, let's call this one candor or candid, encouragingly, understanding that that word encouragingly is going to come up toward the middle of the chapter as we look at Hezekiah continue to put Judah on the path to rebuilding effectively. And this time, understanding that they've got a stable foundation under them from what we saw in chapter 29, he is now going to purpose to observe the Passover at a time when Judah is relatively stable, but much of Israel seems to have been taken into captivity. And because of that reason, it's going to seem that Hezekiah is going to want to try to do something that Jehoshaphat tried to do in his reign, just maybe in a little more healthy way, as Hezekiah extends the invitation to the people of Israel, all Israel, to join them in the Passover. And those who accept the invitation are actually going to join Judah in the first Passover that by the end of the chapter we're going to see, even if the Passover wasn't as great as what was seen during the days of Solomon, it's going to be an event unlike anything seen since the days of Solomon, as we see God bless them, even in their imperfection, move closer along the path to fully rebuilding. Now, not just Judah, but Israel, as the remnant has been left from those who've been carted off into Assyrian captivity. But in order to get there, he is not being encouraging in a way that simply offers up blind, lofty praise to anybody who's just willing to show up. As a matter of fact, he's going to be pretty candid up front when in verse, 6 or so, the couriers who are taking word out to the tribes of Israel are going to go out in this way. So couriers went throughout all Israel and Judah with letters from the king and his princes, as the king had commanded, saying, O people of Israel, return to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may turn again to the remnant of you who have escaped from the hand of the kings of Assyria. Do not be like your fathers and your brothers who were faithless to the Lord, the God of their fathers, so that he made them a desolation, as you see. Do not now be stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves to the Lord and come into this sanctuary which he has consecrated forever. He is being blunt, much the same way that Solomon was blunt with a man named Hiram. And he eventually forged a healthy relationship with Hiram in a time when God was not letting them partner up with just everybody, as we saw. Ahaz was trying to pay off the Assyrians who turned on him. And he loved the gods of Damascus so much that he emulated them, and that didn't work out. And he loved Israel so much that he tried to be like them, and that didn't work out. None of those partnerships worked. But Solomon was able to forge a partnership with one of his dad's friends, Hiram, and not only building a temple, but building a navy that was going to sail the seas based upon candor, meaning if we can get on the same page about God, there's a lot we can do together. If not, maybe some things, but we got to have some healthy boundaries. And so that's exactly what is going on here by making a candid statement to the people of Israel. He is trying to find out where they are really at in their head and their heart with regard to why they ended up in this situation. And he is going to turn a lot of them off. As a matter of fact, they're going to laugh a lot of his messengers out of town. But for those who did respond, it is going to show us that they're going to observe this Passover, not having to come to God perfect, but coming to God in a way that allows them both, Judah and Israel, to rebuild in a healthy way together moving forward. And so it's once again not just going to be the people of Israel who probably weren't all that used to the laws of the Passover, understanding that their kings had evicted the priests from the territory of Israel, but Hezekiah is going to offer up a prayer of pardon for them, as we mentioned, that God is actually going to accept it. But it's not just the people of Israel who are going to need pardon. It's the Levites and the priests themselves. Why? Because not all of the priests were committed to consecrating themselves the way that Hezekiah had requested in the previous chapter, asking them not to be negligent about getting ready for what was to come, because they are basically getting ready for an event that is much larger than what they could have expected. And there are times in life when we might buy into the vision of a thing without buying into the full reality of the thing. And that seems to be what the priests and at least some of the Levites have gotten into here, where they are actually embarrassed when everyone shows up and they are not fully prepared for the great assembly that is now before them, reminding us that there are times in life when we can get so accustomed to failing or things just kind of going on humdrum that we can be caught off guard by the scale of the improvement that God brings into our lives if we are not diligent to be at our best, even when things are not looking so good. And finally, the reason why it seemed good to subtitle this one encouragingly goes to verse 22, where it reads, and Hezekiah spoke encouragingly to all the Levites who showed good skill in the service of the Lord. Understanding he is not simply handing out blanket praise. He is carving out a special distinction, words of encouragement for those who showed good skill in what they were doing. He had mercy and pardon that he prayed to God for those who showed up willing but unprepared to work at a certain level. He also gave an opportunity for those who knew that they should have done better in the form of the Levites and the priests, but had fallen short by acting negligently, even though he warned them not to. But he reserved the actual praise for those who were showing good skill in performing the work of the Lord. And so this chapter may help us understand how he was actually helping to steer Judah and everybody from Israel who was willing to partner with them in the direction that was going to take them from an era of rebuilding to, in the next chapter, an era of abundance. As God is going to give them so much that they are now going to have trouble figuring out where to keep it.